Hawaii Democratic Revolution of 1954 resulted from the reactions of Democrats, 442nd veterans, and labor activists who formed a coalition to end Big Five and Republican dominance, ultimately causing political reform and fomenting a social revolution. During the late 19th century, Hawaii underwent immense political and economic change. The 1875 Reciprocity Treaty solidified the sugar plantation age in Hawaii, opening doors to American dominance masked in the rhetoric of Manifest Destiny. In 1887, King Kalakaua was forced by anti-monarchists to sign the Bayonet Constitution. The provisions of this constitution caused the Hawaiian monarchy to lose power, and in 1893, Queen Liliuokalani was overthrown when she challenged the constitution's legitimacy. With the end of the Hawaiian monarchy, the Republic of Hawaii was established. Hawaii was illegally annexed as a territory to the U.S. on July 7, 1898. In 1900, the Organic Act restricted Hawaii's ethnic majority, Asian immigrants, from voting, thereby maintaining white Republican dominance. The Republican Party in Hawaii maintained hegemony through an alliance with the Big Five. The Big Five were the leaders of a few corporations who controlled sugar plantations on Hawaii in an oligopolistic fashion.
They controlled everything, and by everything, we're talking about not only the legal system, we're not only talking politics, we're talking food supply, we're talking any kind of energy supply like oil, we're talking God.
The Republicans made decisions that benefited the Big Five companies, and in turn the companies used their power to ensure that Republicans got elected. Immigrants were recruited in waves to work on the plantations. The Big Five solidified their power by creating ethnic tensions through wages based on race and segregation between the different ethnic groups. Republican power was also sustained through a coalition with the Native Hawaiians. The Hawaiians' political efforts were easily negated by the veto power of the U.S.-appointed territorial governor. Disillusioned with the ineffectiveness of the pro-sovereignty Home Rule Party, Prince Kuhio led some Hawaiians to form an alliance with the Republican Party as a method of gaining power, privilege, and patronage. The Republicans enacted the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act in 1921, giving Hawaiians land for their support and preventing Asians from obtaining property. The socio-political dominance of the Big Five and Republican Party were exemplified in 1931 when Thalia Massey, the wife of an American Navy officer, falsely accused 5 non-white local men of raping her. The scandal escalated with what was perceived by mainland America as the honor killing of one of the accused men by Massey's mother and husband and their subsequent 10-year sentencing. Anticipating U.S. outrage, Territorial Governor Lawrence Judd commuted their sentencing to 1 hour. The controversial Massey case brought light to white supremacy in the islands and facilitated a local identity among non-white minorities as they grew more angered by the injustices of the case. The Big Five deliberately maintained ethnic tensions to prevent interracial union organizing. Ironically, these social tensions became the driving force that pushed the labor movement and the need for reform. Plantation workers shared common ground as they wanted freedom from discrimination, prompting workers to join unions like the ILWU. On August 1, 1938, labor staged a peaceful protest on the Hilo Dock. Deputy Sheriff Peter Pakele gave orders to shoot to protect Big Five interests. The Hilo massacre displayed Big Five power and rampant political corruption in Hawaii, as well as the fear the Big Five felt toward the labor movement. Their fears were realized in the 1946 sugar strike when workers closed 33 out of 34 plantations. During this strike, workers received lessons in organization, political economy, and civics. This strike was pivotal in that it showed that union-wide striking was more successful than striking as a single race. The concept of multi-ethnic solidarity laid the foundation for the Democratic Revolution as it became possible to rebel against the Big Five and Republican Party. The success of the 1946 sugar strike inspired the ILWU to organize the 1949 dock strike, which marked the last attempts of the Big Five to break organized labor. Another source of hostile reaction and resistance to the oligopolistic control of the Big Five was the experience of Japanese Americans from Hawaii during World War II. The hypocrisy of fighting for a country that treated Japanese Americans as second-class citizens propelled the veterans to seek social change through the GI Bill, where they took advantage of the government-financed education. This was vital to fomenting the revolution, as education provided the means of empowerment. Despite racist sentiment by right-wing Democrats, John Wilson, co-founder of the Democratic Party in Hawaii, allowed the 442nd veterans to join the party. Veterans coalesced around emerging Democrat John Burns, who wanted to reorganize the Democratic Party, utilizing the veterans and laborers.
And the whole idea of the Democratic Party of equal opportunities for all was something that was very important and resounded with the veterans.
The rise of labor workers returning veterans and their egalitarian message instigated reactions and ramifications from the Republican Party. The Red Scare of the 40s and 50s framed communists as grave threats. Therefore, Republicans generated paranoia in the public with accusations that leaders of the ILWU were communists, accusations that became more conceivable after the 1949 dock strike. This jeopardized the coalition between the ILWU and the Democratic Party. Tensions escalated when Governor Steinbach and the territorial government asked HUAC to investigate the alleged communists in Hawaii. The actions of Democratic Governor Steinbach divided the party into two factions over the issue of communism. The party was weakened as right-wing Democrats accused left-wing Democrats of being communist. The two factions separated for the next 2 years and consequently faced a humiliating defeat by the Republicans in 1950. Thus, at the 1952 Democratic Convention, the two factions reunited temporarily into one entity, unification necessary for the 1954 election. The Burns machine focused on grassroots organizing and a coalition of the Democratic Party, 442nd Veterans, and the ILWU. Also by 1954, a critical mass of second-generation citizens of Asian descent had reached voting age and became an untapped voting base. On November 2, 1954, the people of Hawaii went to the polls to vote and voted en masse for the Democrats. In a complete upset, the Democrats won a 9-6 majority in Senate and a 22-8 majority in House, thus overturning years of Republican power in Hawaii. The most important reform enacted by the Democrats was gaining statehood for Hawaii. With the option of Hawaiian sovereignty not offered by the U.S., statehood was seen as the lesser of two evils. Under statehood, Hawaii would be able to end taxation without representation in Congress and gain states' rights protected in the 10th Amendment. Citizens wanted to be able to elect their own governor to prevent the political corruption evident in the Massey case and the veto power of appointed territorial governors. Delegate John Burns pushed for the admittance bill, and with his strategic organizing, Hawaii was signed in as a state by President Eisenhower on August 21, 1959. Despite obtaining statehood, the years 1954 to 1962 marked a divergence in the pattern that had begun in 1954, as factionalism re-emerged in the party, with disagreements regarding racist sentiment, taxes, and land distribution, thus impeding much of the 1954 platform. It was not until 1962 that the Democrats had unprecedented unity.
The revolution is not so much the election now, in terms of the Democrats getting control of both houses of the territorial legislature. It's the legislation that they enacted subsequently that provided these opportunities for local people, the non-white groups that historically had been excluded.
With the 1962 election marking the end of factional dispute, the Democrats worked to democratize public education. The Democrats also created land reform by forcing Hawaiians to sell their land to allow other ethnic groups to own land. Although ending the oligopolistic control of the Republicans, the 1954 revolution is an incomplete political revolution. Many argue, with some credence, that the Democrats have recreated the system of political domination by elites that they fought so hard to overturn, a second layer of disempowerment for Native Hawaiians.
The Democratic Revolution, at least for some people, basically produced a new oligarchy.
Despite the incomplete nature of this political revolution, a social revolution was effected. Those who cohered around the local identity came together, united by their outrage about the oppressive actions of the Big Five oligarchy, and demanded a change through the Democratic Party. Social divisions enforced by the Big Five were challenged, and ethnic segregation transformed into ethnic solidarity. This assimilation of ethnic groups ultimately developed Hawaii's unique cultural identity. The Hawaii Democratic Revolution of 1954 epitomizes the nature of revolution and how revolutions emanate from the need for reform. The discontent of local veterans and workers fueled a revolution that overturned the Republican oligarchy through the electoral process, defying tradition and years of foreign dominance in Hawaii. More than that, the revolution restructured not only politics, but also society as the diverse ethnic groups united. Their actions serve as an example of the role we, as citizens, can take in creating reform and fomenting revolutions. We must be the changes we seek, or the benefits of the 1954 elections will be short-lived.